Here today, if you are a veteran, I think you really need to kind of, listen to what we're going to be talking about here, because if maybe you're thinking about buying a home, or maybe you have some questions about certain things that are happening right now regarding the market as far as, the realty part of it. We have a guest here that's going to be talking about that, and I'm pleased to have Tony Diaz, which is a steward of Aligned Education Foundation. They are a 501(c), and they are a service organization headquartered here in San Antonio. I want to welcome to our show Tony Diaz. Thank you for being here and taking time to come and be a guest on our Bridging the Gap Talk show.
Thanks, Sal. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for joining us again. I also want to appreciate you and also Katrina, which was my point of contact, because you hosted one of our meetings last year, as a matter of fact. Great success. I'm thankful for that opportunity that we were able to have one of our Bridging the Gap meetings there. It's where I had the pleasure of meeting you the first time, and I really believe in what you're doing and how you're helping the vets, right? Because I know there's a great need for the men and women that served our country. As a matter of fact, you were also a Marine veteran that served our country, as well as Katrina. She is with a U.S. Army veteran as well. So thank you all for your service to our country.
Thank you. And supporting your Bridging the Gap, that's the easy thing, That's what we do at Aligned, is we bridge the gap between the lack of knowledge of the VA home benefit to getting them the information and giving them the power to be able to become a homeowner one day.
And that's so important, because I know that especially now how everything is kind of really, the rates went up, and a lot of times I'm a firm believer in there's information is power, right?
Yeah.
So the better equipped you are and more that you're able to make a better decision on maybe what you're looking to buy, especially now with the rates the way they are.
Oh, absolutely. So my story is I grew up in Hawaii, and my mom was born in San Antonio, and we decided to open up our corporate office here in San Antonio. So my wife and I moved out here in 2020. But I've been in the mortgage industry since 2003, specializing in VA loans. I've been educating veterans for free since 2005. We've educated over 175,000 veterans across the United States since then, helping a lot of them become homeowners in the country that they defended. The reason I got into educating is my first home I bought, the lender never asked me, did I serve my country? All he asked me was, how much money did I have? And so I told him, and I grew up in the poor side of Oahu, and I was going to become the first person in my family to own real estate. So when the lender said, well, you're going to get an FHA loan, I was just excited I was going to get a home.
Sure.
Right. So I didn't care what kind of loan I got. And it wasn't until I got into industry in 2003 that they said, Tony, you need to learn these three types of loans. And that's conventional loans, FHA loans, and VA loans. I said, what's a VA loan? That's for veterans who could finance 100% of whatever the purchase price is that they can qualify for with no mortgage insurance. And I said, time out. I'm paying mortgage insurance, and I put 10 grand down. They said, well, Tony, if you would have used your VA benefit back then, you would still have $10,000 in the bank, and your payments would be $200 less a month. And so I started thinking to myself, well, why don't I know this stuff?
Right.
And I've realized over the 20 years of being in the industry and educating that while we're on active duty, it's mission. Learn about your stuff later. But for many veterans, later doesn't come. And for one veteran that is dear to my heart, which is my father, who served in Vietnam and Desert Storm. He served 25 years in the Marine Corps, 10 deployments. He died at 66 years young at Triple Army Medical Center on the 5th floor from complications of throat cancer from his exposure to Agent Orange while serving in Vietnam. When he died in that hospital bed, he owned absolutely nothing of the country he defended. So when people ask me, why do you go around and educate so much for free? And it's because I want to eradicate these words out of veterans' mouths, which is, I wish I would have known that.
Right.
You said knowledge is power, and knowledge can be power for sure.
Correct knowledge.
It's when knowledge is applied that it really becomes powerful.
Right.
And so we give them the tools to be able to make an intelligent decision. And then when the time is right for them, right? But the key is finding out exactly where you stand today. Because there's a lot of veterans that say, well, maybe I'm not ready to buy a house, or my credit's not this way or that way. It really doesn't matter. What you should do is, number one, you can come to a free seminar. We're doing our next one on the 16th at 6 p.m. at the Wounded Warrior Project on Silicon. If you want to register for it, just go to alignedmortgage.com. That's alignedmortgage.com. And you can find it there, or you can call my direct cell phone, which is Hawaii's 808-306-9117. And I'll register for you. And you can come and get educated. And then we'll sit down with a loan officer, find out factually where you're at financially, and build you a bridge to get you where you want to be, which is bridging that gap, which is home ownership, right? Mm-hmm. And all of this is absolutely free. There's nothing that you'll be charged for this consultation, this education. But I can tell you this, almost everyone that comes to that seminar says those words, I wish I would have known that. And they also have light bulbs turn on.
Sure.
You know, we veterans don't get recruited from, you know, the Alamo Heights area normally, right? We get recruited from the south side, the west side, all those other sides. But, and we don't know any better. And we think, you know, buying houses, that's for the rich people. We just live in them. We rent them. Mm-hmm. But all things are possible. Isn't that what God says? That all things are possible. That's right. So let us just empower you with knowledge so that you can utilize it and then become a homeowner in the country that you defended.
No, absolutely. And that's why we do what we do at Bridging the Gap, right? Because all the different partnerships that we have, like you, as a matter of fact, you know, the information that's there that a lot of people aren't aware of. I love what I do here, because when I have a guest here, I find out, well, I thought they did this, right? But then, we do this and we do this and we do this. And I'm like, see, if I didn't know, how many people out there don't know what's available and what it's going to benefit you? And like I said, and I'm a firm believer in this, that if we don't ask, we don't get.
Sure.
And that's why we need to go ask, even though we may not be sure about something, but finding out that these services or resources like what your program offers is available to get. And then on top of that, like you were saying, you know, I didn't know any of this. A lot of times those words definitely come out because I'm not sure, or I don't know, or I don't want to go ask. I'm embarrassed because they're going to think, well, you don't know, or nobody knows until we know.
Exactly.
So we learn.
I just told you I didn't know, right? So don't be embarrassed. I can tell you this, there's only been one judge and we ain't he. Our goal is to empower you. So don't feel ashamed, credit wise, whatever. No one knows what you've been through unless they've walked in your shoes. Mm-hmm. We have no judgment in our company. We are there to serve the veteran. In fact, our end state of our mission says that we will affect change in this country and how veterans are served. You see, I think in this day and age, our government is quick to send our young men and women off to combat, but when they come back broken, they don't do a very good job of taking care of them.
Exactly.
They don't. And there's so many of them that are still broken. And, you know, the suicide rate is at 22 a day, and that needs to end, right? You talk about a lot of what lives matter. All lives matter, but veterans' lives certainly matter. They're protecting the freedoms that every one of us get to enjoy that we do every day, like freedom of speech, which you and I are doing on the radio, right?
Exactly.
So that comes from somebody defending that.
And I'm a firm believer in that, although I never had the privilege of serving, but I see, you know, I have a lot of friends, and I don't know if I shared this with you, but a lot of being in youth ministry, you see a lot of these kids that I see grow up that join the service, and they're going out there and fighting and putting their lives, just like every other serviceman or women that go out there and put their lives on it. I feel an obligation that they're doing something for me. So what can I do when they do come back, or anytime that one of these servicemen or women need help? Especially through Bridging the Gap, all the different partnerships that we have, that we're able to connect them and say, okay, hey, if you need help with this, let's connect you here. Whatever it is that you may be needing, hopefully we can find that connection or help you make your life better. And one of these services is what you're providing.
Yeah, Bridging the Gap is such an amazing concept that you put together, that there's one place that you just call and you're going to find them the help that they need. And you said something just a minute ago that you said, I didn't serve. And there's a lot of people in our company that didn't serve either. But what I tell them is, you're serving now. And Sal, you are indeed serving now, man. I see
thank
what
you. I
you
appreciate
do,
it.
and we are so blessed to be a part of whatever it is that you're going to do in this city. You have our supported line mortgage with Virginia Gap. Katrina is just all in with you guys. Thank you so much for what you're doing for our veterans.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And this is what encourages me to keep going, right? Because I know that there's so many needs out there. And if we were able to meet those needs or be able to find a solution to a problem, because I always believe there are solutions. It's just sometimes we got to look a little deeper or scratch a little more to find out, okay, how or where can I get this help? And if Virginia Gap is able to do that, especially with the partnerships that we have to make those collaborations happen, I think we can help more people and be able to provide these services that are out there for the people that need them.
Absolutely. Anything that we can try to do to consolidate where veterans get knowledge from, it would be great, because it's daunting when you get out of the military. You hear you have all these benefits, but where do you start? Like, where do you start? You go to VA and they tell you some things, and then you go to this place and they tell you some things. But when you put it all under one roof, and these people actually have relationships with people who have done what you're asking to be done, that changes everything.
Right. And it's difficult because when, servicemen and women come back, and a lot of them that have been in combat, they're really suffering with so many different things. Those things are the last things that they're worrying about or dealing with. They just need help. Right. And whether it's mental, whether it's health, physical, whatever the case may be, we want to be able to provide or help those get connected to at least get them up and running, because these other things will follow, right? Because there's no sense in you having things if you're not happy or if you're not at peace with yourself.
Amen.
And so being able to provide the services that are out there will help these men and women who have served and who are dealing with a lot, like the PTSD and all that, to be able to fulfill their lives and make it better. And believe me, if they put their lives on the line, the least we can do is help them when they come back to be able to be better, or help them whatever capacity we can to be able to function in just daily lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Katrina, which we've talked about, she's standing right over there. She's got a husband that's also served in the Army, and Jeremy was in combat and took an IED that blew up his Hummer. He lost some friends. You talk about the things that he had to go through to get to where he is today, and that man is willing at any time to help another veteran that's been through what he's been through, to try to help them make it through. Right. Because there is hope,
Absolutely.
And there is something to be said about having this, survivor's mentality. And God chose for him to be alive. And that's because his work isn't done yet.
Right.
And so
the mission continues, as I always say.
Absolutely. The mission continues. Yeah. And Jeremy's one of those warriors.
Well, thank you for his service to our country as well. If we have any veterans out there that are listening, maybe some young veterans or old veterans, whichever the case may be, that may be thinking about, I am renting, or I've never thought I could own a house, or whatever the situation is, there's always a place where you can go. Especially you want to connect with those that really have your best interest in mind, right? To be able to help you achieve which is what one of the biggest things in this country is, to own your own home. Right. Especially like we were talking about earlier. I know there's been a lot of shift with the feds changing the rates and all that. On your take, because you're in it pretty much all the time, how is that affecting the market now? Or how is that making it a little more difficult? Or is it there's a way to be able to say, yeah, it's shifted, but we can still do what we need to do to help you get a home?
So everything has a yin and a yang, or good and a bad, right? So interest rates going up did help in a lot of ways, because when they were very low, people were offering $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 over asking price, because they're battling. There's not a lot of houses for sale, but there's a lot of buyers, right, trying to buy those houses. But now it's a buyer's market where there's not a lot of buyers because the interest rates are higher, but the houses now are on sale, right? They're not 100,000 over, 50,000 over, 20,000 over. Even sellers are giving credits now to buy homes. So a lot of times, even at the higher rate, it's still better than what it was a year ago with the lower rate, because you're paying way more for the house than you should have been back then. And I think the biggest issue that there is not being prepared for the opportunity, because people ask me all the time, Tony, when should I buy? I say when you can and when it makes sense. right? We teach you how to buy a house the right way in our seminar, but when you can and when it makes sense. But when you don't know anything about finances, you don't know how important credit scores are, how to build your credit, you're in debt and you don't know how to get out of the debt, you feel trapped. You feel
like a
enslaved
prisoner
almost, right? You feel, it's this debt is one of the most evilest things on our planet. It really controls people to the point that they can't do things. So we teach them all that stuff too. So for me, if we could start with our younger generation in schools, teaching them how to build their credits, how important credit scores are, how to stay out of debt, why you shouldn't worry about the things of the world right now. And if you want the things, let the houses buy you the things, not because those, like a car isn't going to buy you a house. Right. But one day that house could buy you a car. And the number
What's
one,
the biggest investment in your life, right?
Usually. It's the number one expense for all Americans. And if we never pay off our house, when do we truly retire? Mm-hmm. And the other thing, when people say, Tony, I don't want to have a mortgage, I tell them this, unfortunately, you have one. It's just not yours. You're paying somebody else's mortgage. Right. And so why not pay your own? And the reason why is fear. They're afraid of making a bad decision. They don't think they can. But all that stuff gets squashed, right? God says that he did not give us a spirit of fear, but he gave us a spirit of power and of love and of sound mind. That's right. And what is sound mind? Sound mind is knowledge. Exactly. Right? Gain as much knowledge about something that you want to do. Whether you're ready to do it now or not, prepare yourself for that future. And that's what we're going to do for you. You come to the seminar. It's absolutely free. We're going to feed you. There's no strings attached. I'm not going to sell you anything. I'm just going to give you 20 years of knowledge in less than 2 hours. And it's going to be fun. I promise it's not going to be boring. It's going to be fun. You're going to have a good time. And at the end, you're going to go, wow, why didn't I know this stuff before?
Right. Again, we come back to that, right? And learning is fun. I mean, again, it's the way you present it at times, but being able to learn and know so many things that can benefit you. You definitely want to do this, right? You want to be able to connect with someone who's going to be able to help you and get that done, because believe me, we're homeowners, and luckily we paid off our mortgage in 15 years, which again, like you said, knowing the knowledge and comparing and looking at the rates and doing this, and well, it would have been cheaper to do 30. Yeah, but if we can do 15, why don't we do 15? Right. And so being able to have that knowledge, I look back now, and it benefited us because, man, we got that done quick. And so now, especially the way, inflation and everything is, I'm thankful and, thank God that we were able to do that, because it's like we don't have that riding over us and say, we've got to make another house payment. And so now, even though things have changed as much as they have, again, it's a big investment, but don't fear, like you were talking about, don't fear because you don't know it. Individuals like yourself that want to help you. Amen. They want to be able to say, hey, here it is pretty much on the table. And you can understand it, and we want to help you to get to that point where you can become a homeowner. And believe me, I don't know if things are going to change, inflation the way it is. It's just best to try to do something now, because who knows, it may get worse down the line.
Amen. I do a little thing in the seminar where I give people a gift card, and I tell them this is your rent money that you normally have. And I said, go take it to your landlord and then walk back. And when they come back, I'm asking them, where's your money at? And they go, the landlord has it. Okay, when you move out of that house, how much of it are they going to give you back? Right. None of it. So then what do you think the only possible way you can make some of that money back? And that's buying your own home and paying it off as quickly as you can. So I would like to invite you to the seminar on the 16th so you can see exactly what we do. And you can tell your listeners yourself, hey, man, you got to go, right? Sure. But more importantly, I'd like to also get your brochures and put them into our folders, so that people know about Bridging the Gap and they get to see you, meet you. It would be a wonderful thing if you could.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Whatever we can do to help. And like I said, this is what we're about, making those connections, bridging the gap between different resources and services, and collaborating. A lot that I hear afterwards that I'm not privy to, people share with me. It's like, man, I was able to connect here, benefited me so much. And I'm like, how many stories are out there like that I'm not aware of, which is good. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I need to know about them, but I just know, okay, we're being effective. We're doing what we need to do to help in whatever capacity we can to make the community better. Right. And everyone who's part of what we're doing, to be able to get them to, provide more services or resources, because like I tell them, man, this is a great program, but if people don't know about it, how does it benefit everybody? Amen. Or even you, because nobody knows about it. So we definitely want to put it out there. These meetings are for that reason, to promote what you're doing, and with this radio program as well. And soon our podcast that we'll be adding. So we definitely want to be able to know more about who's providing the service or resources for the community, to be able to get that information out to benefit the community as well. If anybody's listening right now and thinking, man, that's something that I have been considering, especially this is the beginning of a new year, maybe you have those goals and said, hey, this year I want to do this, but maybe I'm not sure where to go or look at or go to. Where can they reach you to get more information, or, website or social media, or like you were giving out your number? You
can go to alignedmortgage.com, or you can go on Facebook or Instagram and find Aligned Mortgage, or you can just call me on my cell phone or text me 808-306-9117. And yes, that is my personal cell phone. I will either answer the phone or return the call or text always.
Right. And you're a busy man. I know you're a busy man. So don't, sometimes we'll give out our phone and think, well, he doesn't answer, isn't that? Believe me, if you're giving out your number, a lot of people want to get in touch with you. It's always kind of, sometimes you may miss a call because you're on the phone or you're in a meeting or something. I know some people have done that with me, and I said, well, hey, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I want to be able to, answer the calls or people that leave messages as well. But anything else right before we come to the end of our show here, anything else that you'd want to add to what we talked about right now?
Sure. I just want everyone listening to be encouraged that the best is yet to come. This country has been in turmoil, but, God is still in charge. He still sits on the throne, and you can do all things. So whatever it is that you decide you want to do, just put your mind to it and go learn as much as you can about it, whether it's home ownership, whether it's you want to become a nurse or doctor or lawyer, whatever it is. Just learn as much as you can about it, because knowledge and applying knowledge is power.
Right, exactly. And you said it right. We're talking about information being power, but unless you execute that knowledge, then it's pretty much in your head. Well, that's a great place to be, but unless you're actually putting it into use, then that's a whole other ballgame. And not only that, I'm a firm believer in that you share that information with someone else, because someone may be in the same boat you're in and they're trying to figure things out, and then being able to share the experience that you have is what you want to do, because it benefits everybody, not just yourself. And when you can become that, empowerer, so to speak, to be able to do that for other people, the community starts to benefit in every aspect of what they're doing. And it trickles down. I mean, sometimes you don't think about it, but it does trickle down. You're able to have all this and be able to be a success and say, hey, man, if I can do this, what else can I not do, right? And so we definitely want to be able to put this out there for everybody else to know, and be able to utilize this knowledge as well. Again, where's that seminar going to be held?
It's going to be held at the Wounded Warrior Project on Thursday, the 16th at 6 p.m. And you can register at alignedmortgage.com or call 808-306-9117.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Again, if you're a veteran, or maybe even sometimes if you're not a vet, sometimes what happens is that I'm listening, but my brother is, or my dad is, or a family member, share that information.
Absolutely.
Let them know.
Or you can come too, because it talks about VA, but it talks about buying a home and being prepared to buy one. So come on down too.
Okay. So it's open to those who may be interested in buying a home.
Let's go.
Well, that's good to know, because I know a lot of people right now are, interested in, especially the way things are happening. You want to be well informed to be able to make a good decision, and believe me, that's going to be the biggest investment that you make in your life, and hopefully that's going to benefit you, not only you, but as well as your kids, because sometimes you leave your house to your kids.
Amen.
So definitely want to be able to know that these services are available. Well, Tony, we're at the end of our program already. I want to thank you and Katrina as well, and for coming and sharing the information and taking time and being here with us today.
Thank you, Sal.
So we'll be back here again next week. Please visit our Facebook page to find out more about our Bridging the Gap and where our next meeting is going to be as well. Or if you'd like to be one of our guests on our Bridging the Gap radio talk show, please contact me or leave me a message on our Facebook. Thank you, and God bless.